Agents Podcast.
Ironically, this morning I had an email in my inbox with the headline of how an entertainment strategy helps you cut through the white noise and how marketing has become white noise. And when you think about it, like you can't go get gas anymore without stepping out to pump the gas and a TV blaring at you selling some shit. And that has unequivocally become the case on social media, especially in our industry, as you all know, because I talk about this all the time. And that's why I'm really excited to bring on today's guest, because for many of you, let's call you gray hairs in the industry, you may not understand what that really means. And this gentleman today, some of you will know him by the term write that down. You know him from his videos on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, where he has amassed over 1.6, 1.7 million followers by just effectively telling jokes. And we're going to talk about how that is literally, to me, the key to future success, and understanding that is going to be critical for your business. And so, without further ado, welcome to the show, Steve Wiltz, man. Thanks for being here, brother.
And thanks for having me. It's definitely an honor.
Well, I mean, I don't know whose honor is greater. So I'm excited to have you here. I tell you what, I stumbled upon you because, like probably most couples and friends, I've got a group of guy friends. I got a group, my wife, I have my mother-in-law, certain people, like we just send videos back and forth to each other. And I'm more the receiver than the giver because I don't scroll social that often. But your videos end up in my inbox regularly. Because you're just doing stupid shit. It's funny shit. It's stuff that's relatable to married couples. And so I wanna backtrack here for a second, because those that don't know you, you got to go look them up. And while you're listening to this, go ahead and pause the podcast. Steve Wiltz, Stevewiltz, whichever platform you're on, you will find him. Right on TikTok, I think you got a little bit different name. It's called Ripple Time. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you look up Steve Wiltz, though, I kind of pop up all over the place.
Yep, you'll find it. You'll find it. You'll know who the guy is. He's wearing a Bush beer looking hat, typically, that says father on it, or maybe a hat or swag that says write that down. You'll understand why when you watch it. Steve, who the hell are you, first of all? Tell us a little bit about your story and kind of what led you to where you are today.
Man, that is a loaded question. Who are any of us, I guess, but we don't need to go down that path because we could be here forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just a regular guy, man, who fell in love with analytics and figuring out how to make social media work. It was just intriguing to me on how to not only grow, but I mean, just to engage people. I've always kind of loved marketing, always been entrepreneurial. Got can't tell you how many different LLCs or side hustles, whatnot. But I mean, it started years ago, the whole thing, and it's kind of morphed into what it is today. And you will continue to see it do that because I think that's important. It's not even necessarily keeping up with trends because that's what everybody talks about or brings up all the time. And I think in all reality, it's just 100% being authentic and yourself and not giving a shit about what anybody else thinks or doesn't like about it, whatever that may be. Um, so I mean, I could, where do you want me to start? I was born in
So
Arizona.
not there. Let's
Where do you
let's
want
talk
to go
about your
to?
career. So you're a lender now. What were you? What did you do prior to getting into the mortgage business?
Prior to getting into mortgage, I was a retail bank manager.
Okay.
So finance has kind of been my thing for the last 20 years. And I ran a couple branches for a few different banks for, I don't know, 10, 12 years on the retail side of things. So I've been doing lending in one aspect or another. And, then a few years back, actually kind of when I really dove more into the social media side of things, I was doing more, I went straight to just lending, straight mortgage then. Um, no managing people. Uh, you know what I mean? Yeah, you eat what you kill,
Yep.
that sort of thing, right? And that's the appealing thing I think of of anybody in the real estate business is, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And I chose to put into it on a different side of things, I guess, per se. I never really wanted to be out there shaking hands and kissing babies. Um, wasn't really my jam. And I had done a ton of that, and I still do a fair amount of networking per se, but I wasn't the guy that was gonna take you to lunch, 25 times and beg you for referrals. I figure if you want to work with me, work with me. You'll have no one that's going to do a better job in my eyes, in my opinion. There's a lot of good people out there, but there's going to be somebody you're gonna have fun with too. I've kind of always been that way where, life's too short to take it too darn seriously.
Mhm.
And so I just have fun, man.
And at what point in this journey, whether it was banking or mortgage, when you got into social, and what did that look like? Because I don't, my guess is, and I want to know, like, did you have this conception that like, ooh, this is what I'm going to do and it's going to evolve like this, or what did that look like, and what was the relevance to your business back then?
I was completely irrelevant to it, but I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know that I would ever use the platforms that I have, or not use them, but even just kind of passively have them generating sales and relationships for me in the way that they do now on a nationwide scale. Um, but it all started out really, I mean, it was kind of a COVID social media guy when we all kind of got locked down. I started watching stuff on TikTok mainly is where most of it started because Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, all those they were so hard to break into. And I mean, I kind of dinked around with some stuff, and I got in the habit of screenshotting my followers just right away. And I mean, it's a long grind. And so really, I think I was going through some mental stuff, and it was during that time. It was just a deal I'd been through, just like anyone else, right? We go through our ups and downs and shit. And been through, came out on the other side, and I think I made a quick video about something. I was um, talking about it, and it gave me this idea to make we call them smile cards. And so I wrote a poem, and I had them printed on these clear, like frosted clear business cards with the smiley face on them. And I had, I don't know, 500 or 1,000 of them printed out, and I was teaching my kids a lesson. That's what it really was in the beginning. I was like, hey, we're gonna just go out because you know what I mean. If you look at it, depending on how you're looking at the world, I mean, you can think it's pretty messed up, right? All the time at any time. And so I wanted them to realize that everything that they did made a difference in some way or another. Good or bad, that was their decision, right? And that to this day is still kind of my motto. You're gonna make your ripple in the world. Whether it's positive or negative, that's up to you.
Yeah.
So I think even back then my username wasn't what it was now. It might have been creating ripples or something like that. But so we made these cards up, had them printed, delivered, and I went around here, West Michigan, where I'm from, and we handed them out at drive-throughs. We'd walk into stores and give them to workers. Just have my kids do it. And so I made a video about it, and that was kind of the beginning where it like to me back then it was blowing up, right? I think the video itself only had maybe 90,000 views total.
That's a lot.
Ooh, yeah, yeah, I'll give you that. But what it really came from is people wanted the cards. And so on a Sunday, gosh, it was probably Sunday at like 10:30 at night, formed an LLC, started a Shopify shop, put them up as a pre-order, threw a video out, put it online on TikTok, I think it was. Well, that's where everything was at that point in time. But and to date now, I think there's probably about 250,000 of these little cards floating around the world. I
Really?
don't remember how many countries, probably close to 30 or 35 maybe. And I haven't really pushed them all that much because the content's morphed. Every once in a while, I'll throw something in there that's a lot more insightful, and talking about the mental health stuff. But that's really where it all started was these little smile cards, and teaching my kids a lesson. And then from there, I saw so much hurt in people and how big of a difference these little cards made that I'm a super empathetic guy. Uh, I mean, I feel energy like crazy, and it was super relatable to with the way the algorithm was putting it out. So I'd make a couple of videos about that, like say, hey, I'm gonna tell you about yourself here in less than 60 seconds, and I spill out these things that you do and you feel as a highly empathetic person and what it's like. And all of a sudden, I mean, it just kind of took off a little bit from there. Well, from there, it just continued to grow. I did that kind of content for, oh, I don't know, a year and a half.
This is 2020-ish, 2021.
It was March of 21 when I really started diving into it and actually making videos instead of just faceless stuff or be reposting or some stupid little dance trend thing for 30 seconds because I didn't really care back then. But yeah, March of 2021 is when I made that video about the cards and my girls and that kind of a mission. And what is that, 3.5 years ago now? I think I had 8,000 followers maybe starting, and I think that most of that had come from me just going into these. They used to have these lives where it was like you'd go in and you'd follow everybody in there, and then they would follow you back, and you'd like grow your followers that way. And even that fake sense of uh, almost importance would lead to more followers as you started posting videos. It's really hard to start at zero, but everybody starts at zero, right? Um, and so most of those were probably just barely people I knew. I was interacting a lot back then. I don't have a ton of time to interact as much live like I used to, but oh yeah, in 3.5 years, I've grown TikTok to 750,000 or 745. I can't remember where it is right now.
Yeah.
Facebook, we just hit 506,000, I think.
Yep.
YouTube,
325 on Instagram and
yeah,
122 on YouTube.
yep. Yeah, and a lot of that came from what I've always said, and I've always been pretty sales minded, as anybody in this industry is, whether you're a lender, you're a realtor, you're a broker, whatever it might be. I mean, to me, it's always make people feel, right? So the goal of my videos for a couple years, which was extremely draining and why you don't see a ton of that content anymore, was really relating a lot to mental health, um, and kind of helping people along those lines. And I would get these messages, and I still do, to a point, but I don't interact with them quite as much. But just these messages that were so deep, and they're draining. And it's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. For someone who takes on emotion a lot, I mean, it'll beat you to hell. Um, so yeah, we did that. I did that. But what it was doing, I found too, was my wife is not built that way. Um, I mean, as a woman, she's obviously empathetic, but doesn't feel things the same way I do. Doesn't relate to stuff the same. Um, and so it wasn't driving us apart necessarily, but I couldn't have her be a part of it. And that was really important to me
A part of the
because I really
social
didn't want to
journey.
just continue to do it myself. What was that?
A part of the social journey.
Yeah, because when the smile cards uh, took off, I mean, we sold a ton of them. We shipped a ton of them out within like the first few months, and I thought right then and there, like, game on. I'm doing this the rest of my life. Like, this is going to be my my ticket out of anything where I'm working for somebody else or that sort of thing. And if you're not keeping up on it or finding a different way to drive it, it falls apart pretty quick. I think I went from selling like the mass majority of the 250,000 that are floating out there right now were all within the first few months of that. But at that point, you kind of almost wear that niche out ish. I don't know. I can't explain it, right? I'm not a marketing major or claim to know everything, that's for sure. But man, I thought for sure that was it. I was like, all right, I'm going to build it from here. We're good. I had 60 something thousand followers. I'm like, yeah, 60,000 followers. Let's go. Uh, and I thought I was done, man. I'm like, sweet, I can quit my deal. We can do whatever. Luckily, I didn't do that right away. But it kind of, it's just been a journey, man. It's been a trusted process thing, right? Like, make people feel. And so when I was doing that deeper stuff, I wanted to bring my wife in. So we started just doing, she wasn't super comfortable on camera. and I was less comfortable back then too. But we would do like reactions to I would tell her, I'd be like, okay, here is what a husband might say, or you would never hear your husband say late at night. And it would be some country song that would it was something about if you get there before I do, right? If you've ever heard that song. Uh and she never knew what was coming there either. It would just be all of a sudden this new song, and she'd crack up, and it was adorable. And I freaking loved it, and I loved doing stuff with her. Um, and so that was my way of bringing her in. And then just more on the journey. It was
Can I stop you right there and ask you a
yeah,
question about that? So, obviously that part of the journey is challenging. I go through that too, because I love making contact with my wife, but it's got to be the right mood, right? Oftentimes. And so when you started doing this, was it hidden camera or was it right out in the open?
no, it was right out there. I would just be like, all right, you're gonna react to this. I'm gonna play a song. And I'd give her a line to think of or some sort of a setup that then the song would come on and it would make sense to her and she would kind of laugh, right? It would be funny because it would do like Simple Plan, uh, or Simple Plan that was all small things, or little things like that. Like, oh, things that husbands, you know, say to their wives, or wives think about their husbands, or whatever. And I'd have these snippets of a song pop up, and they weren't very long, but we weren't doing anything other than sitting there and kind of just reacting to them. So
Yeah.
there was still a decent amount of thought. You had to find what it was and come up with the idea um, on it. But no, that was my whole thing with her was she is, she'll tell you that she's a good actress. Um, yeah.
I guess what you don't know is how many times especially now that the brand is established, she knows she has to react, or you're like, come on, man. Like, what? I can't post that.
Yeah, she might be on it, but yeah, she never knows what's coming. And that's kind of my thing. I don't ever re-record stuff. So, I can be my own worst enemy and think, man, I really don't like that one. So then I gotta wait 6 months to do it. So she's forgotten what I said, for the punchline or whatever. But yeah, who knows? Maybe she's completely acting has me fooled farther than I can ever believe.
So then it evolved into, and you're listening right now. Again, if you don't know who Steve is, I hope you've already stopped and gone and checked him out. And you're gonna be, it makes a lot more sense if you understand who this guy is, or what he is on social anyway. Now, if you get to that point, right? You get to the point where you figure out, okay, I want to bring my wife into this. We're gonna do songs. At what point did it take the next step?
Um, Honestly, I think it was December of probably 22.
Okay, so beginning of 23, which is
Yep.
2 years ago to the
Yep.
month.
Yep. I remember what the joke was, but it wasn't even my own. I just was recreating something else, and I had thrown a tune, and it was the tune to Elf. The beginning part of Elf. It's
Yeah,
super memorable. I can't think of it right now, or I have no idea what it's actually called, but it was the theme song, and
I know what you're talking about. The dun
yeah,
dun 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 dun
yeah,
dun
yep,
dun dun. Yep.
exactly. And it was something like, if you can't figure out what to do, try doing it the way your husband told you to do it in the first place. I'm sure it's been done a million times. I don't know where I even got it. Actually, I think I might have seen it on a Tumblr. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you put your own spin on it. One thing I did do over that time period, because I had to get away from some of that deep stuff. It's still a huge passion of mine. You'll see some of my content trending that way to a point, because I think it's still super important. Just heard a story today, actually. My wife called me because I asked about something else and filled me in on someone who'd lost their battle with it. Longer story than,
Mental health.
yeah, yeah, mental health for sure. But I needed to not necessarily distance myself from it, but not to take on so much personally.
Sure.
Uh, and so, yeah, the jokes just kind of fit. And
So you went
that's,
from you went from serious shit like mental health, like deep shit,
yeah, yeah,
to marital jokes, off color jokes.
yeah. They can
I
be
love it.
really off color.
I
Some of
love
the
it.
shit I don't even like to post, man.
I
I was
love
like,
it.
oof, that's well, it's a little racy.
I would say less. Well, again, I haven't watched all of them. I've seen many of them. More, racy is not the word as much as it would be. Uh, Obviously it's a male female thing. Typically it's a husband
Yeah.
wife thing, and the word's escaping me right now, but you know what I'm talking about, right? It's I could see a
Yeah,
feminist being very offended by you.
right. Yeah. I would say that would be a fair assessment. A good observation.
Also with no sense of humor, and I have no problem saying that. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like let's go, people. Like, let's not take life so serious. So now here we are. And for the sake of somebody who might be listening to this who still has not stopped the podcast to go check you out, I'm gonna. You didn't know I was gonna ask you this question. I assume, and I want to get deeper into the content in and of itself, but like, you've got something teed up that you're gonna do with your wife today, tomorrow, the next day. What's one of your next jokes? Knowing that this podcast won't come out till after that's posted anyway.
Well, if I were to show you where I keep all of
Please,
my
please.
ideas, I mean, the list is ridiculous, ridiculously long.
Where do you keep it? Like, what, you have an app? What do you?
It's in my notes app on my
I love
phone,
it. I love
dude,
it.
and it's backed up on the cloud. I got it backed up all over different places. You know what I mean? Just because it automatically kind of does it, but a lot of times what I'll do is just find something that, like, even a one-liner, and then I'll just run with it from there. Like, here's one. This is actually one I kind of want to do. I'll do it. I'll do it soon. I'll do it tonight, maybe tomorrow.
Right.
That women are like a Jeep. Yeah, here we go. They're better with their tops off. They're more fun to ride. Oh yeah. So my idea, like, I just put little snippets in there. So in here I've written like a Jeep, better with their tops off, more fun to ride when they've got their top off, hard to stop or hard top, that kind of thing. So just throw like random ass ideas in there. And then late at night, everybody
So
comments.
that's not scripted. You just bullet point it to yourself, and then you just riff it.
Yeah, I'll hear someone say something and I'll want to say that's what she said or whatever, some sort of innuendo, right? Just because my mind is stuck there now. I'll never grow up, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
15 years old forever, right?
Fuck yeah.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so I'll just have, usually it's just ideas unless I, expound on it and I actually write it all the way out. But then it just kind of however it comes out. I don't come off the top of my head with all of them or anything like that, like in the moment. But yeah, that'll be one. I'll do that one. I'll do that one tonight or tomorrow, whenever this is going to go out
So,
for.
all right, now you take these ideas. Where are these ideas getting conceived from? Like, is it because I mean, I gotta believe at this point people are sending you shit.
People do. Not a lot though. I thought it would be, I mean, I don't know. It depends on, I've gotten used to it, so it's not a lot to me. So, every once in a while I'd be like, oh, so here's a good one for you. Here's an idea for you. And they'll say it, but it won't fit. And I don't think it's funny, but it'll give me the idea of like, okay, I can use that.
You can expand on it.
Yeah, I can expand on it. So I'll tell them that, hey, yep, let me spin that into something. Please hold, you know. And then I try and keep up on messages, for a decent amount on my end. Write them down. Just remember, okay, this is where this one came from, so I can
And you
shoot
put
a
that in your
message.
notes with the notes of the line.
Yeah, I'll put user whatever on
Yep.
Instagram or Facebook, TikTok, whatever it might be. Uh, just so that way, I'm like, hey, here's some credit. People don't want. They're like, oh, it's all yours. You can use it. Take it. Be honest. I just want to hear you say it, which is cool.
It is, but
But
people are tickled to death if you tag them.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. But most of them just come from just years and years of mental illness. Like just it's a sickness, dude. I can't turn it off. I
I
can't.
wasn't sure if I should keep a serious face or laugh at that.
I was
And if
watching.
you're
I was
not,
watching the progression there. It was actually funny to see because I totally just threw that out of left field.
well, and
Um,
I don't know you. I mean, we just met. So,
yeah,
and if you're not watching this on YouTube, you don't know that his face was completely stoic and straight. So I was like, you son of a bitch. Like, I don't know what you're doing to me here.
there's a really good book called Steal Like an Artist. Um, I read a lot of self development books, that sort of thing, and have in the past, and that's a really good one I read back before I started doing the joke stuff in beginning part of 2023, where it was like, you know what? You're never going to have a completely unique idea. Like in all reality, everything is kind of stolen from something else. There's literally no possibility that you're going to do something that maybe someone else has never said, whether it's even live or to a couple million people or not. Figure out what works for you. So there's a she's a used to be a huge creator. I don't know. She doesn't show up for me anymore, but her name is Emily, I think. And she just does straight stone-faced deadpan comedy. And it's the dumbest shit, but it's so funny. And I was like, all right, so I'm work that into it. And you kind of just piece pieces together and make it into your own. I'll get people if I redo a joke, sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, you stole that from so and so. I'm like, yeah. Just because you've seen somebody else do it doesn't mean
Right.
anything.
Right.
It's got 3.6 million views on it. So you, sir, can show yourself
Right.
the door or don't
Right.
let it hit you on the way back in.
Yep.
And so I think that's important for anyone or anything that is trying to get started. Just start and kind of piece a whole bunch of crap together. And
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, originality is almost non-existent. Authenticity is like just being yourself. I assume that kind of what we see on camera is kind of just your dry personality, if I had to guess.
yeah, I mean, you don't see if I lose it because when I rewatch videos, I'll be cracking up to myself. I'm like, yeah, that was a good one. But I don't know, you just put yourself into a little bit of a mode of my face is pretty straight and chill the whole time. My wife loses it, and that's the whole thing. That's why it's
Yeah.
fun.
And now as it has evolved, it's and I've even noticed as I was scrolling your TikTok that in recent times it's much more normal to see you sitting on the couch, your wife sitting in the corner of the couch, but previously you had different locations in the house. Is there some sort of psychological design there? And then that's question number one. Number two is you've always got like some just stupid gadget in your hand. Explain those. So start with the first, and then get to the gadget. So is the design like is it just ease of creation? You can set a tripod up. It's the way the lighting is. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it pisses people off, which is kind of funny that she's always sitting in the corner of the couch. She's always scrolling her phone. But I mean, you think about it right now. What the hell else are you doing at like fucking 11:30 at night, right? Like any other night. It's like both my kids play a travel sport, so we're always go go go, and in the summertime, I mean, we move it around. Lately, it has been all I was. That's weird because I was really thinking about that last night when I was like, all right, honey, we got to do a video. And I went and grabbed my tripod and my setup and everything. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, Dad, this is going to look like every other freaking one. And you do have to break it up every once in a while, but it'll get people who are like, oh, does she ever get off the couch? Does she do anything? I'm like, yeah, for this 35 seconds that you see, no, she's not doing anything else. Actually, she's sitting right on the couch, like you said. So yeah, there's really not right now. It's more out of just convenience.
Yeah.
Why she's on the couch, but those are our spots. Like I think any married couple probably has their spots on the couch, right?
Yeah.
I hate mine. I absolutely hate mine, which is a kind of a funny thing too. And I should do a video with that. She gets that corner spot. It's like the best spot, right? It's just this little L sectional, and I sit on one end, so I can only really lean one side because that's where your armrest is. If the other one, I got to get a pillow. I'm leaning to the right. And she knows that I hate it. We've been looking for a new couch. We even found one probably a couple months ago. I think we went on our anniversary, which was back in October, and we spent the day looking for furniture. Uh, and I don't even know why we never pulled the trigger on it. But we're still sitting in the same old gray couch.
Because it's broken in and comfortable. That's
Yeah.
why.
But yeah, so that's the answer to your first question. The second
Oh,
one,
and before you go on, the you mentioned a tripod. Do you use any lighting?
you have to have lighting. Yeah. Um,
Like a ring light? What are you doing?
yep. So I have a pretty decent little, let's basic. It was like $20 on Amazon probably. Ring light setup, phones in the middle. it's important just how you have it set up there too. But like you can see like even right there with if anybody's watching this instead of listening, but it makes a big difference on your face. This is just a little like portable one. I don't ever really use. I just kind of have it in my office for whatever reason. But yeah, there's that. Sometimes we'll put it. Usually it's just one light. But I every once in a while I'll use more than one. I use two. That's pretty much the most of it. But you would be surprised what I was trying to say there was that bigger creators, they want to help people who are actually showing up, right? To like continuously make videos and try and do what they're doing. And so I connected with a few larger, pretty millions of followers, creators on TikTok and Instagram, and just they randomly start talking and then just asking for pointers. And so that was kind of fun. And they said that that's how, I mean, that's important as the lighting was. So lately you might see a couple different lighting things. I don't know how else to explain that.
And
But
you use just a wireless lav mic.
yeah, I've got one that I love from Hollyland,
Yep,
which is
it's a
on
good
the
brand.
DJI ones. Yeah.
It's a good inexpensive brand. Like instead of paying all the money for the DJI or Rode, yeah.
Yeah, the DJI, they've offered to send me one to do stuff for theirs and videos I don't use a really super cheap one, but the really cheap ones honestly don't work all that bad.
Yeah,
They're pretty darn good too.
I've used $30 mics for years and they were just
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah. This thing has just like an amazing range on it, and I don't know why. I think I thought I had to have it, and so I went and bought it. Call me to find out you really don't.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
especially considering you're doing all of your shots within a 2 or 3 foot radius.
but the voice cancellation makes the biggest thing. So if you're looking for something that's $30, $40, whatever, buy one to make sure it's got a good voice cancellation. Read the reviews and check that out because you're not going to need distance on it. Maybe it'll evolve into that, and I'll use it one time for that length away kind of thing. But yeah, no, it doesn't cost you a bajillion dollars to get in. That's every single video I shoot is with my phone.
And your wife's never mic'd
No, I
unless
might
she's
for a second
talking.
have. Yeah, unless she's talking, she's never
Yep.
mic'd.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay. Now and by the way, you also have noticed and I've noticed this before, I do this too, but you change the mic set like mic here, mic here, mic here, mic here. That just kind of having fun with it.
yeah, it doesn't really much matter. I mean, depending on the shirt that I have on or something like that. If I got a hoodie on, this is comfortable enough. Oh, for it. The hat sometimes I hate how it looks, but after it's shot, then there's really no point. It doesn't really matter anyway. It doesn't make a
Sometimes
difference.
sometimes that's the clickbait that it sometimes gets people to watch it. Like, what is that hanging from his hat? Yeah.
Yeah, people think it's a beeper.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, tell me you're in your 40s or 50s without telling me you're in your 40s,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know? And it's funny, I get messages like, why do you have a beeper on your hat? Listen, John,
All
Paul.
right. So now the random I don't even know what you call them. Extras.
Yeah, that was everything that happens is kind of born out of just being flexible and something hits. And I don't know when I started doing anything with that. I think I was probably just dinking around with my reading glasses or my blue light glasses that I had on and just keeping myself entertained. But when you start to piece it all together, pretty much every single one of mine has a slow zoom, zooms in, right? I've got something different in my hands. Those little pry bar poppers for your vehicle, like those, for whatever reason, videos that I use those in, and it could just be coincidental that it's a good joke at that point in time, but those always do really, really, really well.
And what is it again?
It's a rivet popper. Uh, so like plastic, not a rivet. Gosh, what are they?
Like breaks glass?
No, no, like it would hold on your door, like your door on your car, right? So it's slipping my mind right now, but just a little plastic um, pops. That's not a pop.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I know
You
what
know
you're
what I'm
talking about.
saying?
Yep.
That would hold on the panel,
Yep.
hold on your panel or some sort of plastic. And it's just from I don't remember what it's from, some kit that I have. I have a bajillion tools, and one day I grabbed that, or it was sitting on something behind the couch, and I grabbed that and started using it. And so sometimes I'll buy, like I did one last night with it's it's a light up lamp that's very phallic.
Yep. Saw
Uh,
that. Yep.
and I saw that probably on a viral video like 3 years ago. And then I was perusing the internet a couple weeks back, and I was like, oh, look at that. 10 bucks, 12 bucks. I'm like, all right, that's a prop. So yeah, it just depends. Whatever I find out, I'll look around the house for a little bit and find something funny. But it's just engagement, man. It's getting people to stick, because that's all the platforms care about.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And
there's a
that
realtor.
probably also kind of throws Kristen off as well.
Oh yeah,
Like, what the fuck? He's in your hand right
yeah,
now. And why?
yeah. When she when she did her last one, I had her hold on to a pair of hemostats, which we use for fishing. Uh, and she's like, "Why am I holding these?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, you're gonna fidget because you are nervous as hell about doing this. So this will help that. But you gotta have something new. Just pick something. And then if I had to wait for you to pick it, we'd be here till next week, Thursday. And I need this video done tonight. So let's get to talking." But
All
yeah,
right. So, what's your cadence? Do you have a certain cadence that you're trying to follow? How often you want to post?
yeah, that is important. Uh, Kind of just you got to be consistent, man. I probably pump out five a week, and
Okay.
some of them are just reused from the past since I've got, you know,
Reused as in reshot or repurposed as in the same video, just reposted?
yeah. When life gets crazy, I don't have the time. I might just not be in the mood. The kids are going crazy, and the house is a mess, and I can't be in like a really shitty mood and shoot a video. It just doesn't work. So it's straight reused. Usually, you can kind of garner the time frame that a platform forgets about it.
Yeah.
A video does good once, it'll do good again,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So TikTok, usually you only have to wait maybe 3 months. Instagrams and Facebook are probably about the same. Uh, YouTube, YouTube's got a longer memorization to its algorithm. So if you're posting the exact same piece of content within 6 months, it'll just die. It is just don't even try it. In my
Are
experience.
you removing the watermarks from it before you're reposting it?
Oh, you have to, yeah, absolutely.
Just making sure. But I don't know if somebody with your stature on follower wise, I wasn't sure. I do, but yeah.
And see, that's where I don't know, because I always had done that. I always have done it, but then you'll find people that post their thing with watermark on it, and it
Yeah.
takes off.
Yeah.
On a consistent basis, I don't think it'll work. Maybe
Yeah.
for, one off, it's gonna hit the algorithm just perfectly and do really well. But no, there's all sorts of different downloaders that you can find online, or usually through the platform. If you download it yourself, it should have the watermark removed. But
Yep. And free.
correct.
And free. Now, what in the hell does this have to do with real estate or mortgage?
Absolutely nothing. Yep. Yep. I hate lending. I don't want to do
Hey, that's something we got in common.
it. In all reality, I do love, I like people. I like people, but I don't like people. Right. So, and I think at this age, probably the people that are watching you guys on here, and the niche that you're tapped into, and who we're talking to, know exactly what I mean by that. I do love the people, but I won't feed you the same, like, oh, I'm helping you achieve the American dream and blah blah blah. Yeah, you're getting yourself into a load of debt that I probably don't even think you're responsible enough to handle, and you're probably gonna lose this house. Not really. Uh,
But as long as Fannie or Freddie says it's okay.
yeah, but if the numbers pan out, I mean, hey, have at it. Go wild, kid. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm at the point now where I don't actually have to do anything with lending or mortgage, but I've been in it. I've got relationships, and really, I find that if you're polarizing one direction or another, or you are just completely your authentic self, people want to work with you. It's bullshit. It's like I can't get away from it.
Yeah.
Uh, even
AKA leads find you.
yeah, and that's just as simple as I could probably do a ton more if I were to throw stuff out there, and I do every once in a while. I don't know when the last time I made a video about it or a post about it. It had to be a year ago, maybe August of like
You
2020.
know, the only reason I found it out is I think I must have clicked on a link because it's not in your bios.
It should say
Oh, it
lender.
is. That
All of them
is.
say something. They are like
Right.
mortgages or lender, dad, whatever.
Because I look at it doesn't on. Oh, it does. There it is. Yeah. See, that just goes to show you I'm even in the business and I overlooked it. But
Yeah,
it did catch my eye at one point when I looked at your bio and I was like, oh no shit. And that's when, that's when I was like, I'm gonna reach out to this guy. Um, but God, what a freaking great testimony. So I talk about this and teach. We just did a class on this the other day, talking about optimizing your Instagram bio and how real estate bios typically are like real estate agent in blah 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 county, number one real estate agent with whatever brokerage, and it's like, dude, how many times do you have to cram it down their throat? And here you are attracting business without saying a damn thing. This is why I wanted to have this conversation because real estate agents don't get it.
they what?
They don't get it.
People don't give a shit that you sell houses. There's 1,000 of us. There's 1,000 lenders on a block. There's 1,000 realtors on a block too. And you just got to add value in a different way. For me, it's I make you laugh. I mean, I don't cram it down your throat because I really don't even want to do it. But no, I do. I mean,
I don't think anybody, I don't think many people in the mortgage industry say that this is like their deep life's passion. Are they passionate about it? Sure. Is it their deep life? Is it something they want to do? They don't ever want to retire because they always want to sling mortgages? Absolutely not. And they're lying if they said that's the case.
right. Yeah, 100%. No, I say that, loosely that I don't want to do it, like 'cause I do. And I have a good setup right now. I've got a partner here that, I kind of do the first initial stuff, and I'm like, listen, here, my right hand man's gonna give you a shout, and we're gonna sail into the sunset together. And this dude is on top of it, like 10 times more than I ever would be,
Yeah.
even if it's all I did was mortgages. Um, but that's kind of where I would flail. Like I didn't. It's so much easier for me just to want to sit and do analytics and content stuff uh, than it is for me to be chasing somebody around for their 2022, 2023 W-2s and all that jazz, right?
So you're telling me that, and I know this because I've never seen you do any mortgage content. But again, I've not binged watched your stuff, admittedly, but I've seen plenty of it. If people find you strictly because it says mortgage lender in your bio,
Yeah.
that's fucking wild, dude.
There is like you're talking about kind of maximizing that bio. I've played with that and I play with it still here and there. If I move things around in there, if I change something or I throw a tagline in different whatever, you'll see that little bit of a subtle change will change that up for people. But the other thing too is, I mean, I'd pop onto a live, excuse me, and TikTok was my preferred platform for lives because the rest of them seem to lag a lot. But I haven't really given them a ton of chance, and I don't really go live anymore much at all. But I'd be popping on there, and I helped somebody in Texas, uh, kind of saved his house from some craziness he had going on with the divorce and everything. And so then we get to talking, and I think I picked up like three, four, five different deals there. I think I've written loans in, me and my partner together, whatever, probably almost 19 or 20 states just from people talk. And there's some people that just love sitting on live. And so another thing to
Well,
engage
yeah.
with is I would just pop in the room. I don't have to go in there. They'd be like, "Oh man, Triple Time's in here. Steve's in here. Yeah, he helped me with my mortgage." And then all of a sudden, just that, you've got all of their followers, you got all their or whoever's in that room or whatever engaging with it too. Uh, but other than that, I don't really concentrate on making content for it all too often, um, because it's all the same. There's
So
a
when
couple
you
of good
were
ones.
going live, that's what you were doing was maybe doing a consult or talking about whatever.
No, I wouldn't. It wasn't about mortgage. No, I would just go live and talk about normal stuff. It wouldn't be anything to it. And then somehow it would come up, or people are asking me, "Oh, what do you do?
Ah, yeah, that makes
What do
sense.
you?"
Well, and I think the hardest thing for anybody who listens to this, and it's fascinating, but it's also not relatable. And the conversation that I would have with you about your socials, which you don't need any help from me, but even if you let's just say you did, hypothetically, you're like, you know what, I want to pick your brain, I want to ask you some shit. The advice I would give to somebody like you versus somebody who has 200 followers and posts once every blue moon is going to be completely different because you've already hacked it. Like you've penetrated that son of a bitch. Like you got that algorithm in your favor, and it's a whole completely different ballgame. You are playing in a different arena than everybody else. You're in an influencer arena, and everybody else is just in a man. I need another deal arena. And as you said, like you have your income has gotten to the. I assume your influencer income, your brand deal income, whatever has could make you do this for a living full time and make a really good living, I imagine.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
But yet you keep but you're smart because you're going to keep, why wouldn't you keep doing mortgages? You set up a team that doesn't require a ton of your effort. You just become a rainmaker, and why wouldn't you? I mean, I would say you're stupid not to. In fact, I would say let me give you a couple more businesses that you should do the same rainmaking on.
Well, that was the thing. It's like it'd be dumb for me to give it up. You put all that work into it. But if anybody's going to even attempt it, because it gets really saturated, right? It's hard. It's people think I just sit on my ass and make a video on the couch and you're done. No, there's a whole lot more stuff to it. But you got to be committed to it. It's straight up consistency. You've got to be. There's times I don't want to be making a video, and I might be in a really shitty mood, and just, oh my God, I haven't put anything out in a couple days. My last couple things have really flopped. I need something really good, and it's just a lot of thought. But the biggest thing is consistency, 100% consistency, and it is the word in my house that my wife hates the most because we parent differently, and so consistency is thrown around a lot on my end of things, and so she
You've
doesn't
worn
love
her
it.
out with that
But
one.
yeah, but yeah, man, and YouTube's the hardest one. That one I'm still trying to break that one because that one actually
Yeah.
converts the best as far as compensates
Monetarily, yes.
monetarily. YouTube is where it's at, and I've always thought that was gonna be the one long term. Uh,
But yet you're not doing long forms. If I mean you are, but you're not.
no, yeah, every once in a while, it's on my to-do list, so that is continuously always growing. Is to
I was
just
I was gonna
I
say,
put
but
videos.
by the definition of longs, you're not doing longs. You just
Just
posted longer than, well, prior to the recent change, longer than a minute, which made it a long, but it was still effectively a short.
you seem quite familiar with both of those terms,
Yeah, I am very.
long and short. Anyways. See, like this is easy, man. You just soften, freaking serve that one up like a softball,
I
bro.
certainly did. I certainly did. You son of a bitch. So,
Yeah, no, none of it's long form really, unless I intentionally will do one.
which you should, and that's not that. So
Mhm.
I want to know though. I mean, so now as we've talked through this, when you shoot one video, they're all, gosh, 30 seconds tops. I feel like. How much time, you only shoot them once? You already told us that. You set up some lighting, nothing super fancy. How much time do you typically spend editing a video?
Uh, if I get in my own head, it can take me an hour, but most of the time, and they all look the same, right? Consistency in that regard is also pretty huge. I mean, honestly, I share a lot of ad revenue with those bastards that made that wonderful song for Moneyball. uh, the Mighty Rio Grande by This Will Destroy You, because I started using that as my background, I don't know, a year ago, a year and a half ago, probably closer to when we got going on it. And it sticks because it evokes emotion, makes you think I'm gonna say something like deep as shit, right? And because that's where I came from, it was nice because it kind of fell right in line. And then you kind of hit them with, oh, there's this quick right turn at Albuquerque, and the punchline comes out, and now you're losing your mind. And so It's usually always that same song. I got maybe a handful of songs that I'll every once in a while mix in. It's always a slow zoom, but yeah, there's not, I don't know, 45 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes on a video.
That's more than I would have thought. Um,
Yeah,
where are you editing?
CapCut.
So would you still to this day say your foundational cornerstone platform is TikTok?
If TikTok goes away in January, I'm fine with that. TikTok doesn't pay unless you do minute-long videos also,
Yep.
and
Yep.
even then their RPM's okay. Uh,
Yeah, but it's not YouTube.
it's definitely not YouTube, and YouTube is the one that is the hardest for me to post on, and I don't know why, because I think it just takes multiple steps. Because you always have to upload it and you got to go in, you got to change the description. Like, unless YouTube's built as a web desktop type version.
Yeah. SEO,
Um,
absolutely.
but I don't like doing it on there. And even when you do it on there, you still have to go back in because you can never really fully do it. It's like a two-step thing. They make it freaking hard. I think on purpose, just to like weed out the
Yeah.
losers who don't want to do
Yeah.
it. Um,
So you're using CapCut, and that's interesting because I feel like if I shot the video that you should, and I create a ton of videos, and I enjoy editing, I feel like I could edit your videos in 5 minutes.
so it might not be half hour, 45 minutes because usually we can shoot one at like 11:40 and I can have it up right around midnight at the latest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I get a little OCD about like, okay, just replacing the video. And sometimes, and CapCut's not the best thing. Honestly, it's really not. It has a ton of capabilities, but it screws up for me more often than not, where
Oh, really?
the cover photo gets jacked up or,
Yeah.
yeah, it's got glitches. I used to use Splice initially, and then just the capabilities of CapCut were better. I don't know why
You
I even
could you
switched.
could check out Viva Video. I use that one.
Is that good?
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily any better or any worse, but I always tell people the reason I don't use CapCut is because CapCut is an attention stealer, and that's why I stay off social because I need to focus on creation, not consumption. And so if I go to CapCut, I can go down a 30-minute rabbit hole of watching templates.
I don't ever see any of that.
Dude, well, because that's why I use CapCut. Whereas Viva Video to me is just an editor. There's nothing to steal my attention. And
Oh, yeah,
so I use
you're
it
posting
for
the
the
template.
functional tool that it is. And when I go into CapCut, because CapCut has CapCut is a social network. I mean,
Yeah.
people don't realize that. You can post to CapCut.
I guess that one actually pays pretty good too. I've just never got into it. Somebody who doesn't have a ton of followers
I didn't know
anywhere
that.
else.
Actually, I didn't even know you could get paid on CapCut.
Yeah, you can get paid on CapCut pretty well, apparently.
I don't use it other than to create and we create content for people, but we use it for templates because templates freaking perform. Like people love that shit. Just taking a scene from a movie and spinning it back to real estate.
Hmm.
Simple,
It's a lot easier that way too. It's already got
100%.
everything pre-made, pre-done for
Yeah.
you. So yeah, it's an easy one.
So what's next? What's next for Steve?
I really want to teach through comedy. I've always really kind of dreamt of doing like motivational speaking. So if anybody listening to this wants me to come and fire up your real estate team, tell them that get off their asses and stop whining, and because that's kind of how I'm built. Like that.
In a dry, humorous way.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to, when I look at it, because somebody was telling me about this the other day, speaking of what I do and how I do it, and they're like, well, you know what, you've got to have the balls to put something out like the way I do, because some of I mean, it walks a line, right? And it's not horrible.
No, no,
I
no, no, no,
haven't,
no. You crossed the line.
yeah, I probably do that a fair amount of times, but to be able to do that, and I've got kids. I know a lot of people in my community know me. They won't say it, but they do because every once in a while it'll come up. It's kind of funny, but to be able to do that, I think you had to have gone through some shit, and that's how I see it at least, and have a tough skin. There's not a whole lot that doesn't roll off my back. To deal with the comments too, uh, they're really not all they're not all that bad, but they'll attack Kristen, and I just come back with something smart because I always figured a way to beat a bully is just be smarter than them, and then they shut up really quick, or you just ignore them. It doesn't really matter. But
Yeah. Or respond with kindness too. That
oh,
always makes a bully go away.
that's my favorite way to do it. Like,
Yeah.
God, I'm just so glad that you're here
Yeah.
and adding so much value. And thanks for engaging and being here while it served you. I really appreciate
Actually, you know what you should do? I don't know if you do it, but you should incorporate that right there into video replies of those comments.
that. I have, yeah, I've thought of that. I think I've done it once, maybe.
Video
Uh,
replies obviously they always perform better comparative to just normal content because you're using something inside the platform.
right.
You're using their tool.
That's the other thing too, is I don't ever edit anything inside the platforms, which
I don't think that matters.
I don't know.
I don't think it matters.
They're
I've
trying to
done
shove it
both.
down your throat.
I do plenty of both. I do plenty of
Yeah.
both. I create in TikTok, I create in Instagram, I create outside. My most viral, dude, I've got a viral video. My most viral video on YouTube is somebody else's video that I downloaded and then just related it back to the Lake of the Ozarks because that's one of my niches. And it's got 4 something million views on YouTube and it paid me really well.
Yep.
And it was not even my damn video. It's not even original.
Yep.
I just made it original, by some text overlay, but it's wild. So, okay, continue that answer. What's next?
Oh, I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm 41. We got a whole nother lifetime. I don't know. I would love to, I'd love to inspire just because I think that's where my heart lies. And that is why I started creating the content was based on a lot of that stuff. And now I just do the same sort of thing, but in a little different way, right? With comedy. I think that when you make people feel right, you're going to get their attention, they're going to pay attention, they might learn from you. And if you make them laugh and you can teach them something at the same time, I don't know, man. I don't know that there's a better way to learn,
Yeah.
right? Because no one wants to be bored. And a lot of it comes down to just who knows? You got to be flexible. If I ever would have imagined I'd be a 41-year-old dad making tons of social media content, even up until a couple of years ago, which probably told you you're crazy, obviously. Um, but I just don't. I think that's with life in general. You have to be able to adapt and be flexible, right?
Yeah.
And do something different. Too many people are just stuck in their own damn heads and stuck in their own way. And people's biggest fear is judgment. And that was my wife's was a huge, that was why it kind of took us so long, I feel like, to me to be saying some of the things I do. And honestly, for her to not care so much. Her and I are built different. I've been through way more shit than she has, in my eyes, and probably hers too. But I just don't care. I give zero fucks.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You get that like switch flip moment.
Liberating, huh?
Doesn't matter, right? And that happened quite a while ago for me. So I really passing that on to other people and helping them. I just love watching other people succeed, man. When I get people that reach out and ask for help or ask me about something, I'm like, here, let's collab, let's do something. I'll teach you. Because it's not any fun at the top by yourself. And it's not very gratifying up there either. And I'm not at the top by any means in comparison, right? But that's all part of my own complex, right? That I just figure I'm not doing anything great, but against your average Joe, got a pretty decent following on it. So
Yeah. Understatement.
yeah,
What would
love to
be
do some talking, some motivational stuff, teach, travel, have fun with my kids and family.
what would be your best piece of advice to somebody who just listened to this who's like, okay, now what do I do?
Just act. Stop overthinking everything. That's a big thing that I would make content on was you overthink everything. It gets you absolutely freaking nowhere. It's like a rocking chair, right? It gives you something to do, but doesn't get you very far. And I think I do it every once in a while. I find myself doing it. You're thinking too much.
Yeah.
The color or the setting or all that stuff doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah.
It can make a difference. I changed the stuff on our mannequins behind us. You'll see that too.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you about those mannequins.
Those are fun. I don't know. I actually started doing, I want to say I started doing it before Justin Danger Nunley because he does that stuff with like dead bodies, body bags that he does. And I want to say I've had these mannequins for a long time, but I picked them up one time because my kid made me take her to Hobby Lobby. And I didn't feel like sitting in my truck, so I walked around Hobby Lobby and I was like, oh, this mannequin's kind of cool. I was like
And
sticking shit in its head.
I was just going to say, was that your intent when you bought them? Was there going to be in the background of my videos?
There was some prop, yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna. What do you think I was gonna do with them? I'm not that weird, man. Jesus.
Hey, man, we've only spent 60 minutes together.
Yeah, two each his own, I guess.
I think the best thing anybody can take from this too though is not only because there's a lot of people out there that have goofy ideas in their head, dad jokes, that sort of thing, right? And my advice is, as you said, just go for it. You got to do it, put yourself out there, but don't do it unless you know you can sustain it. And so I'm not going to give a time frame on it. I want you to answer that question. Don't do it unless you can sustain it for how long?
A solid 6 months at least to even really get your footing going,
5 days a week.
if not 7.
Yeah.
Especially when you're just starting it out. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not just starting out, and I try and put that out consistently.
Yeah.
Because the beauty of it too is I don't do a whole lot of CRM stuff. I don't call my realtors all the time. I don't go out for lunches all the time. But they see me on Facebook and be watching a funny video, and they're like, "Oh shit, that's right. We're looking to buy in a couple months. I'll hit them up," and that gives them reason to contact you too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Top of mind awareness, man.
be in front of someone, man.
That's so good. That's so good. So if somebody wants to connect with you, what is the best way to do so?
Just search me up, Steve Wiltz.
Where do you respond? Where's the most likely that you're going to respond?
Most likely that I'll respond probably on TikTok.
DM on TikTok, not a
DM on
post, I
TikTok.
assume.
Yeah, because a lot of times they do the best job of putting up the message requests high in front of your face, where I got to search for them, which I do on Facebook and Instagram. But TikTok does a good job of slapping them right on your notification feed.
Yeah.
So those are easier ones.
TikTok DM. That's interesting. I can tell everyone that I messaged him on Instagram and he responded. So if that says anything.
It took me a few days.
It did, but I mean, I didn't expect anything different. You got a lot of followers. You got a lot of messages, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't offended.
I got to weed through a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I appreciate it. It was pretty awesome.
You are licensed in a lot of states, right?
Well, yes. We just moved over here. So right now we're just like Michigan.
Over here is where?
Fairway Independent Mortgage Group.
Okay. Very well-known name.
Michigan. Michigan's my sweet spot. Florida, Oklahoma, handful of states. And if we're not there, but I really want to work with you, we'll get that state.
We'll find, or you'll find it you'll refer it to somebody.
Yeah, it's an easy enough way just to get licensed somewhere else too, pretty quick. Somebody in my office will do it. So,
Steve, it's been a pleasure, my friend. This has been a great conversation. We're definitely going to have to continue these conversations. It's been great getting to know you. As a listener to this, if you didn't get something out of this, I don't mean to be an ignorant asshole, but you just don't get it. And I know it was a loose conversation, but you got to start understanding this stuff, man. If you don't understand this stuff, business is going to pass you by. It's going to pass you by. And Steve's a great example. And if you don't go follow him right now, you might just be wound a little too tight. And that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. And honestly, it doesn't really make a difference to me. Don't follow me. I'm not, do your thing. No.
I know you're going to be all over my algorithm. You already were. Now that we've connected, the Instagram now knows, and bam, you're at the top every time.
You're always listening, man.
Funny how that works, huh?
Yeah, strange.
I appreciate you, brother. We'll be in touch.
Hey, thank you for having me on, buddy.
Lab Coat Agents Podcast.